Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding was miserable and a disaster. Good thing mine wasn't. Welcome to Popcorn Palace. I am Andy Signor, and I'm in studio with Steph the Alter Nerd. Woo! High five!
High five!
Yes!
Yes!
Oh my gosh. Not only are we in studio, but now we've officially announced over on Popcorn Planet, I'm married! And Steph was here! Oh my gosh. Now look, we pre-taped this, so it actually hasn't happened yet, so we're still excited. But yes, we were here for the wedding. If you want to see how the wedding went, we were supposed to have a video up, so check it out on Planet. Hopefully it was there. You'll learn more there, at least when it's ready or what's up there. Go check it out. But yes, Steph, so happy to have you. So honored you came. Flew all the way out for our special ceremony. And I thought, what a perfect pivot to not only celebrate that you're here for the wedding of Jami and I, but that Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, their wedding was miserable and a disaster. What a fitting theme for today, right?
Very fitting theme. Yeah.
Are you surprised by this? Before we get into the details, does it surprise you that apparently it wasn't a good wedding?
Not surprised at all, especially with all the information that we know prior to this particular source actually speaking out in the first place. We know about, the whole, did Princess Catherine make Megxie cry? Did Megxie make Princess Catherine cry? I mean, that was a disaster in of itself surrounding the bridesmaids. Another disaster for the wedding was the whole fitting of the dress itself. It didn't fit right. Why? Because Megxie, up until the last minute, was messing about Claire Wright, who was the designer at Givenchy at the time, who did the dress, this, that, and the other. And it just was absolutely ill-fitting in the end. Oh my goodness, the tiara situation where Megxie wanted a different tiara and she ended up with I think it was the Queen's Mary bandeau, and then Prince Hazard being in on it, with the Queen turning around and saying, look, Megxie's being a bit of a bridezilla here. Prince Harry reportedly saying, what Megxie wants, Megxie gets. Like, this wedding, we know, was an absolute disaster pretty much from the start. But this royal photographer's pretty much, confirming it.
Look, and I have some empathy for bridezillas. It's probably safe to say I'm more of the groomzilla here than Jami being a bridezilla.
Oh, dude, yeah. The officiant speech, I mean, say no more at that point.
I have some opinions, I do, and when something's important to me, I want to try to adjust it, and I do, and I like to get in there and get. It's just there's so much when a wedding happens that I can get it gets a little stressful.
You are an extreme perfectionist.
Yeah, which is a blessing and a curse, right?
True.
It is. It has its goods and its bad. I don't think I'd be as successful if I wasn't that. But yeah, that's part of my curse.
Yeah.
It's part of my curse. But sometimes, even it sounds like we're taking it even further than it needed to go. And this is coming in from the royal photographer. 6 years after the couple said I do, Edward spoke out about working at the event. In a new interview in The Sun, revealed Harry allegedly made his job all the more difficult that day. The day was a miserable day. I can tell you now, it was the worst royal engagement I ever did, a royal wedding I ever did, because Harry was determined to keep the newspapers away from it as much as possible, which is like impossible to do this. This is like a big public affair. Of course, you got to go into this event knowing, well, there's nothing I can control. And honestly, that's a good lesson I'm learning from my wedding as well. You just got to let go because it's out of your control sometimes. And that's it. Sometimes it takes. But this idea and obsession, right? Press can't be involved or see anything is absurd.
It's absolutely absurd, especially when you consider Prince Harry's line into the succession. It was inevitable, and especially as being a son of Princess Diana, that whoever he was going to marry, the press had to be involved. Why? Because the public want to be involved in that wedding. We want to see it. We want to see the dress reveal, the ceremony, as she's walking up the aisle and he sees her for the first time, what the reaction is. We want to see the rest of the royal family, what their reactions is, how it all plays out. Because at that time, you also have to understand that Prince Hazard was part of the royal family. Megxie was married into the royal family, which meant that their life was at least partially funded by the taxpayer. And so there is that kind of transaction there that when you marry into the royal family, part of your privacy you have to forfeit. because the taxpayer has a legitimate interest in what is happening in royal life because we pay into it financially. We're like royal investors, if you want to coin a phrase.
Right, and just so we're clear, that this is like a royal photographer who's allowed to be there
Correct.
to do this. And
yeah,
so,
part of the royal rota.
Right, and as they're being forced, so everything had to be done on long lenses, 800 millimeter lens photography, photographing the guests arriving. The photographers they engaged for the job were 5 feet away. It was just hopeless. Even more, Edwards was particularly frustrated when they had the opportunity to catch the newlyweds in the carriage as they greeted crowds outside, but couldn't get the angle. And then the carriage shot where they just went past me in the carriage. They looked the other way. So for me, it was a disaster. Was that deliberate? Were you made to feel unwelcome? They were asked. I felt so. It wasn't just me. It was the whole British press. In many ways, we were badly treated. The Post reached out for the Sussex. Of course, no comment. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing was just like, she just didn't give a crap, right? Didn't know. The attitude here is awful because, as you said, this is for the public. They pay for all that. You got, not me, thank God. You guys paid for this wedding.
Yeah. Yeah. To a certain extent.
Does that piss you off that you paid for this wedding?
Yeah.
Weddings aren't cheap.
No, they are not. But yeah, it does because, you know, at the end of the day, you have to understand that for those that don't know, the UK taxpayer does contribute some of the taxes to the royal family. And so as a result, you are expected to allow the public inside your life, albeit only a little bit. So again, the wedding, for example, right? Princess Catherine and Prince William had their wedding televised, and it went off completely without a hitch.
Yep.
Everything went according to plan. And you don't hear photographers, journalists, or anyone else coming out with behind-the-scenes stories of how Princess Catherine made someone miserable or how the press were miserable because they weren't getting the angles right and the coverage right, this, that, and the other because the couple were being so restrictive. No, it was welcoming, it was great, and it's an event that people look upon fondly. But with Hazza and Megxie, it's completely different. Why? Because they're toxic. At the end of the day, they are toxic as far as I'm concerned. And because they're toxic, they make the whole environment around them toxic. The wedding day is supposed to be a happy day, a glorious day. But we're finding more and more and more that it's not. And then that makes me wonder, well, if the wedding that's the foundation to a marriage is completely toxic, then I wonder what the actual relationship is actually then like.
Oh, I
it's
think
not
we know.
a great springboard to jump off of. Oh, yeah, I'll say it.
I think we know.
It's only a matter of time, I think. They're not in it for long haul. I know.
Yeah, no, it's and as someone who's now in a proper wedding with someone who's so amazing, so in love with, and so much happiness, yeah, I can tell you that's just this is all so stupid of them to do and such a weird thing to focus on. So not a good start. And I guess the red flag we all should have seen coming, which some people did. A lot of people didn't even to this point. It took a little bit longer, but wow, what a fun day. Yes, thoughts.
Do you know, though, who I think caused all of this? Megxie. Because at the time, Hazza was still in the royal family and so still used to the notion that because you're in the royal family, there has to be a little bit of give and take with the press, and that because it's the wedding, it's expected that the press are going to be there to cover it, to televise it, this, that, and the other, right? I think it was Megxie that pushed this agenda of pushing the press back 5 feet or whatever, right? As an element of control to make her feel even more important.
Well, it's
to be like, oh, don't take my picture, don't take my picture, but take my picture. This kind of like hypocritical element of Megxie that we know as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, he's made that excuse like in the documentary. He talks about the royal, what's it called? The royal rota.
Yeah.
And he talks about it in there. If you're part of the royal rota, you have more priority over anybody else. All royal news goes through their filter of the newspapers. Apart from the Telegraph, happen to be tabloids, it comes down to control. It's like the family is ours to exploit. Their trauma is our story, and our story is our narrative to control. I do feel like that is Harry talking because of what happened to his mother, but it does also, I agree, feel like Meghan has exploited and really massaged that parts. She's using all that often to get that control and really own that control. So I think that you're spot on, yeah.
And the thing is as well, Hazza even said himself, if I'm not mistaken, that he was in this bubble when he was in the royal family and didn't realise how bad it was until Megxie came along and made him see the light. And so for me, that is every indication that at the wedding, Hazza would have been absolutely fine with the press because it's what's expected. His brother went through it. His mum went through it. His auntie, Fergie, and his uncle, Prince Andrew, went through it. You know, royal weddings get televised, right? So he'll have known it's par for the course, used to it. That's it, right?
Yep.
Megxie, on the other hand, no. I think it came from her.
I wouldn't be surprised. If you like what Steph's saying and you want to hear more, make sure you go support her over on Steph the Alter Nerd. There it is. Go subscribe. She just passed 100K. Help us get there too. You can hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash that like button, and leave a comment down below. And if you missed the wedding video, head over to Popcorn Planet and check out Steph and I in the video. I'm sure it's going to look amazing. I have no doubt. I'm going in so happy today as we get ready for it. And thank you all for watching, supporting what we do. Couldn't do all this without you, so you guys are amazing. We got so much more for you, so stay tuned here on Popcorn Palace and Steph the Alter Nerd.